Hello, everybody. In this video, we're going to spend some time discussing all the announcements on the machine learning and GenAI space on Databricks that happened the past month, actually. And we're going to review some blogs that you should be aware of and different videos that are great for upskilling. So let's get into it.
Here, this is a blog post. It's not an announcement. It's just a blog that goes through basically how some of our engineers at Databricks improved basically the quality of the outputs of their LLM outputs. And that's an LLM that, does all the AI generated table comments, table descriptions that you can see when you leverage Databricks IQ on Databricks. And so basically here, what I like with this blog is that they just go through the whole process that they followed in order to improve it. And it's pretty cool what they did. So yeah, basically here they just talk about the AI generated comments. So if you haven't used them, really try to use them. If you have Unity Catalog, basically it's just generating metadata for you. And I mean, this is a very thankless job, to write that, but it's so crucial in order to facilitate data discovery.
And that is so one of the best features of Databricks at this point.
Exactly.
Honestly. And for people who have so many tables with no metadata, who is going to start going through them and writing descriptions for columns and tables, right?
Exactly.
So it does that for you mainly.
Yeah, I really like this feature. And also, they had a previous blog that I need to read about how it took them actually only 2 engineers and 1 month to train a bespoke LLM to tackle this problem. But now basically they just wanted to improve this process. So previously they used an MPT-7B model, 3,000 synthesized examples, etc. And so here they just talk about how they managed to improve the training data. And so here what they did is that they use Mixtral to basically generate some create table statements, and then use the same model again to generate the table descriptions, column comments for each of the generated schema. And so they managed to create 9,000 training samples in just under 2 hours. And so because it's a problem sometimes to have the right training data, that's a trick that's good to remember, just use an LLM in order to generate some training data. And then they just talk about how they did that and the tips to be tips and tricks when you do this. I like this one that, for example, during generation they presented few shots examples in a chat format so that they could teach Mixtral the desired output formats. So yeah, that's a technique that's good to bear in mind when using that.
When you're going through your prompt engineering and you see that the LLM cannot get or create the output in the format you need, then the few-shot learning is a great way to go with it, right? So just go through your prompt and present 2-3 examples of the input and the desired output, explaining very well the exact output format you want. Do you want to be a Python dictionary? Do you want to be a JSON? How are all the keys and what is the values of those? One is this, and then we should say that they used Mixtral here because apparently at that point in time, Mixtral was kind of outperforming the MPT one in this specific task, right?
Yeah.
So
well, they
always
both
go for the best model, I guess.
Yeah, and they used open source, which is pretty cool. And so next, what they did is that even with the few shot examples, etc., sometimes the output was not exactly what they were looking for. And so what they did was to add some filters. And so here, they explain a bit more about how they did that. And so, yeah, basically having those heuristic filters, which is based basically on their experience. And I guess here you need a human to look at this.
Again, to say here that the training data set is the biggest and the most important thing if you want to have a fine-tuned model or a pre-trained model that makes sense.
Yeah.
So never underestimate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, they said after this process, they were left with about 7,000 of their original 9,000 samples, which is still quite good, in my opinion. Then they talk about fine tuning. That's what you mentioned just now, that they decided to opt for Mistral 7B over MPT-7B because it was, at the time, the highest ranking 7B parameter model. And so then also what's interesting is that how they go about evaluation, which is honestly like a big
question
in Gen AI at the moment, a question that people raise a lot. So basically, here what they did is that they sampled 500 of the most used tables in that Databricks workspace to form an evaluation set that is representative of actual usage. And so here they generated table description with the previous model, so MPT model, and then the new model over those like 500 tables. And so here, because it would be expensive to have humans annotate 500 samples, what's really cool is that here they used another LLM to evaluate the output of those two LLMs and basically judge like which one was best.
You may hear this as LLM as a judge.
Yeah.
And also the question, why on earth would you use an LLM to evaluate the answers of different LLMs? And the answer to that is you don't have anything better to do at this point in time. Or you do it manually, which is expensive.
Yeah, but it is expensive to have like human annotators to review it, etc. Exactly. So if you don't have the manpower to do it, it's a cool thing to do. And here I like that they also talk about a few things, notable features of their automated evaluation that they would like to highlight. So rather than requiring the model to pick the best among two outputs, they allowed ties. And so that improved things apparently. And then it was good also that the model was required to provide an explanation behind its answer. I think that's good because then you can really try and judge how it's judged it. So from a evaluation perspective.
Excellent. Because you have the evaluation and then the reasoning behind the evaluation for its answer. Great. Yeah. Great idea.
And then, that they generated multiple ratings for each sample and chose the final rating using a majority vote, which is pretty cool. And then they just deployed the new LLM via Databricks optimized LLM serving. So a lot of cool learnings, and it's great that they're sharing like how their journey was, because I think a lot of people could leverage some of those techniques in their projects.
Yes, for sure. Like the few-shot learning and the different tricks on the evaluation are a lot of questions that I get. So I guess people would like to know that. The next blog we are going to discuss, it's about how we can deploy our machine learning models, like LLMs actually, but secure them from cybersecurity attacks, which is a very interesting perspective. For us answering this question, we are going to go through this blog and also focus on a partner of Databricks called Hidden Layer and how we can do that with them. So why is this important? It is important because, we have all of these model zoos, as we call them, like Hugging Face and TensorFlow Hub, where each one of us can create their own LLMs and go and serve them or host them there, and people can just download and use it.
Yeah.
And while we're thinking about security and things that can go wrong around our LLM applications, we've never thought what can go wrong inside the LLM itself. And there are a lot of attacks that can happen on the LLM itself, right? Inside the LLM. And this is the problem or the challenge we're trying to solve now. So there are a couple of risks associated with just getting models from model zoos. And mainly is that people can go and hijack the models in these platforms. Or you can have model supply chain attacks. Now, there are a lot of resources here on the article that you can deep dive into. Especially check out the Databricks AI security framework. There are specific sections associated with these cybersecurity attacks. But in this blog, mainly we are talking about how we can mitigate those. And this is an excellent graph because it shows you the whole spectrum of things that we can do on Databricks to help with this challenge. The first one is around authentication and identification of users. Then it's all around how you can control access of all of your resources, like Databricks resources, and allow users to use specific things in the Databricks workspace. The next thing is how you can use MLOps and LLMOps to make sure whatever model is going into production is well tested documented and should be actually in production. A lot of things around MLflow and how you can register different models and how you can deploy them in the best way possible. And we take away any security concerns associated with our serverless platform. So this is handled by us 100%. And the last thing is how you can actually use our partner, Hidden Layer, to scan models for vulnerabilities. So in this blog, we go through each one of those. So the first one is around SSO and how you can make sure that whoever is signing into the platform is authenticated and authorized,
Yeah,
right?
makes sense.
And that there are a lot of different steps that you can do that. And we have some best practices around how you can secure your platform.
It's a really cool article. I like that it has a sort of like checklist feel to it.
Excellent.
So that you can go through it,
Yes.
as a CTO and just make sure that everything is secure.
Yes,
so,
yes,
pretty good one.
And a lot of our features around security are included here, like private link, so that you make sure that none of your traffic actually goes through the public internet and everything is into your own network. The next thing is around Unity Catalog and how you can use it to apply the right access controls to your users. As we said before, by using access control list, you can make sure that any artifacts in Databricks from models, clusters, any jobs can be accessed only by the people who should see, modify, and access those. And then the next thing is around how you can employ MLOps and LLMs to scan models. So there are a lot of open libraries, but none of them actually helps you with putting all of these models into production and are production ready. To solve for this, we can use our partner, the Hidden Layer, and a specific tool of this tool, which is the model scanner, which is designed to uncover mainly hidden threats in the machine learning models. So it integrates with Databricks and it's very easy to use. But in general, it can identify these threats along the whole life cycle of the models, right? So from the model, you download the model from the model juice, when you register it, when you train it on your own data, and when you are ready to put it into production and serve it. So across the whole pipeline, you can use the Hidden Layer to check for vulnerabilities in your models.
That's really cool.
And mainly, you can apply it in this for different things. One is upon download of large language models, like when you go to the model zoo and you literally download the model and you serve it on Databricks.
Okay.
This is where you can check that. And then the next thing is you can check the whole Databricks model registry. So when you go to your model registry and you have there all your models, you can actually use a script where it goes through all your models and checks for vulnerabilities.
Oh, that's good. So
right?
Even if you haven't done it during download, then you could, okay.
And you can set it up as a job that is part of your CI/CD or your MLOps cycle, for example. And then you can scan any new models and versions. So as you know, in Databricks and MLflow, we have these webhooks that trigger different things, right? So when you put a new model into the registry or when you move from version to version or you apply new stages and tags to models, you can kick off different things. One of these can be a scan of the model for vulnerabilities. So it can be incorporated as part of your MLOps or LLMOps cycle. And especially before putting anything in production, you also make sure you have to check that it does make sense to be in production. The first thing is around download and scanning models from Hugging Face. So before you download your third-party model into the Databricks platform, what you can do is you can go to Hidden Layer and there run this notebook that is executed on Databricks to go and make sure that the model you're planning to download actually is a secure model. And
Makes
there is
sense.
no any malicious attack or code inside the source code of the model. The next thing is whenever you register any new model or move it between versions, the Hidden Layer can also integrate, as we said, with the model registry. And what does this do is that you can kick off a Databricks job that continuously does checks and monitors all the quality of the models that you have put into the registry. So you can scan models when they are registered, or you can scan models when they move from different stages through different kind of webhooks, right? So when a job is being triggered or when an HTTP endpoint is being triggered. Now, as we said, apart from just when a model is being created, you can also take it and track it when a version is changed through different events that we have in the model registry. So you can use, for example, the model version created or the model version transition from a stage to the other and things like that. All of this can be done with webhooks. And then this is all around our model serving functionality and how we run models in multiple layers of isolation for security. So in the building security guide, you can see all the different things that we do on our serverless functionality. But mainly we assign complete different machines to all the different users and workloads. In a different we have network isolation as well. The machines are ephemeral, so nothing stays.
So yeah, it's more
exactly
built in Databricks already.
Exactly. And we handle all of this for the customer.
Yeah, I guess the biggest threat is just downloading models.
Yeah, that was actually a good one. Yeah, right. It's so easy to do. Like you can really download and throw it on Databricks and serve it. So it was actually a very.
And we're at a moment where everybody's experimenting with Gen AI, so you never know like how many users in your organization are
doing this. Cool. And the last one is around controlling access to data and other objects through Unity Catalog, through access controls, as you can understand.
Makes sense. Right?
Yeah. So UC everywhere. This blog is about MLOps, and it's actually written by a colleague of ours, Epide. So this is a series of blogs actually in an initiative called MLOps Gene. And what is it about? It is mainly how you take your machine learning projects to production by adding an MLOps cycle around it. The idea is that you have to start in this journey step by step, and how Sepide has explained that is that you crawl, then you walk, and then you run. So at each stage of this, you add a little bit more complexity into your MLOps.
Yeah, I love this approach because this is definitely like something that everyone needs instead of, just looking at the perfect MLOps setup, but then you're nowhere near there. And so having like a phased approach is definitely like a great way to approach it.
So if you are new to MLOps and you want to start implementing some best practices, then you'll go to crawl phase, where it explains everything around the foundations and how you can take your notebooks and put them into jobs and make repeatable workflows around them. So this has to do everything around how you set up the environment, the different clusters, how to use MLflow for all your model versioning, and how you can start putting some consistency and reproducibility across your ML assets. And then the next is the walk phase, where you are actually start talking about implementing some parts of the CI/CD. So understand more on CI/CD, what is testing, and how you can test all your assets, how you can deploy them and monitor them, and how you can do that in a more automatic way than manual. And the last thing is, an end-to-end kind of MLOps very advanced approach, right? Where you add a lot more layers around how you can do model explainability, how you can have end-to-end lineage from the data to the model to whatever you are serving in production, and how you can make something that is repeatable and at scale. So how you can have an end-to-end MLOps pipeline and you can just pass any new model through them as automatic as possible.
Yeah,
right?
That's great.
Yeah. So this is a series of blogs. So every week or so, more blogs are being released. So keep an eye on this.